How's everyone going? Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com, bringing you the last day of the last week of the Powerbuilding II template by Barbell Medicine. We're finally wrapping things up with this template. It's been a long 10 weeks. We've had our ups and our downs, but the last day finished off really strong. I'm pretty stoked with today's results. So on today's agenda, we have the overhead press, followed with a superset of stiff leg deadlifts and some close grip bench press. So let's see what happens. So the overhead press went really well, I think. Now the weights didn't really exceed any maximums or anything like that, but we just successfully accomplished today's overhead press without any near blackout experience. So that's a great win. I was able to research and hone in on the technique today. So I thought that was really good. I focused on just refining my overhead press technique, which I'll go over in a little bit. But we didn't hit past 195. 195 was today's rep max, but it didn't feel that heavy, and I think it was probably close to the RPE 8, maybe a 7.5. You will notice in the replay, when I do get to the rep at 195, I do misgroove the first rep, so I kind of bailed on that, set it back, got a little bit of a breather and reset, and that just flew up the next set. So I think all in all, today's focus on technique was really successful. With all that being said, the things that I've been focusing on with the technique that I've kind of let slip in the past, I know intellectually how to do the lift, kind of, but executing these techniques is something totally different. So today's main focus was on spreading the lats, so kind of making a proud chest. So you really want to flex the lats, as well as breathing into the stomach and squeezing the glutes and the legs and really bracing the abdomen. So just like a squat and a deadlift and a bench press, all the other ones, remembering to stay tight throughout the entire lift. And that's something that I haven't done in the past, and based on my recent bench press experience where my back arched a lot and I started to get the similar almost blackout experience, I think the reason I was almost blacking out on the overhead press was the fact that my back was arching so much, and the reason that I can assume is from that is because I was losing tension in the entire body. So I was focusing on pressing the weight up without necessarily flexing the rest of the body. So I wasn't firing the quads, the glutes, the abs, or even the lats. Nothing was tense, so that led to a really sloppy overhead press. So today the big cue that I had was to flex the lats up, get a proud chest at the bottom, take a big deep breath on the unrack, and then fire it up while keeping the elbows in a forward plane, not letting them flare out to the sides a lot, and whilst keeping the glutes and the abs really fired up. And what the key was thinking of bending the bar on the rack position down, as well as flexing the glutes forward. So those two little things that helped me remember to keep the abs fired up, as well as to keep the back engaged. And what that did was it allowed me to press without arching the back too much. And I didn't want to press the weight because I did really want to work on that technique. And at that 195 weight, it felt like it almost started arching a bit more than I would like. So I wanted to leave it at that weight, drop the weight down a little bit for the volume sets. So again, no new volume PRs, but I think a technique PR today, definitely. I think the overhead press technique today, I should have been executing since day one. Unfortunately, I haven't, but it's all a learning process. So I think in the long run, today's focus on the technique and the continual focus on technique is going to help me hit that body weight overhead press and finally hit the 2-plate overhead press, which are two big milestones I would like to reach before the end of the year. So the overhead press was a success. Again, I think with the superset of the accessory movements, the accumulated fatigue is starting to settle in a little bit. So I did 225 with a stiff leg deadlift, and that just felt rough. My lower back is still a little tender from yesterday because we just did the heavy deadlifts yesterday and I did back-to-back days. Whatever the case may be, if that's good or bad, I don't think it really matters, but I really didn't want to push it today. I just wasn't feeling up for it. My back wasn't holding up. So we kept it to 225, then 255, and we settled with a top set for three sets of 6 reps at 275, and that just felt solid. I didn't have to use lifting straps today, so I think that's a grip PR for me, so that was good. Had to pause a couple of times during the longer sets just to regain some control on the barbell because I felt the barbell slipping out of my fingers, but double overhand grip, so I think that's a great way to build up the grip, especially when I'm not really pushing the weight too heavy. If you remember from last week, I was doing 325 for sets of 6 across, so a significant drop in weight, but again, the weight felt really heavy today. Shorter rest periods as well, but I really wanted to just kind of bang through this workout, kind of finish off strong, finish off with some good cardio. Not that that's the point, but I kind of like that feeling at the end with the supersets. And again, with the close grip bench press, we stuck at the top set for an AMRAP of 185. Got 16 reps there, so a significant drop in weight from 225 for 15 reps, and we only got 1 extra rep at 185. So again, not the best performance, but I think I got the same relative intensities out, or the relative perceived exertion was the same, so it still felt quite heavy for me today. Not sure what it is. I'm only assuming it's the accumulated fatigue from not getting any deload weeks, but it could be anything: poor sleep, poor nutrition, just mental fatigue. But I think it was, even in spite of those results, I think today was a great success, mainly because of the overhead press. That's probably the happiest thing I am about today, is that the technique, I think, by focusing on those key cues, is to just hone in on the technique, and I think it really improved my lifts for the better. And I think that's a way more important thing that I can take away from today, is not necessarily the weights lifted, but the way I lifted the weights, because at a certain point, the overhead press is probably one of the, involves the most muscle mass. That's why it's probably one of the weakest lifts of mine. Everything from the feet up to the hands in an overhead stretch position really has to be fired up and flexed and on point, otherwise the lift just doesn't work. A lot of other movements you can skew a little bit with the technique, you can kind of relax a little bit with perfect form, but with the overhead press it's really hard to cheat the movement without this requisite strength, especially if you're not that strong like I am. The technical side of the lift really comes into play and really shows your weaknesses in every aspect of it. So all in all, I think a great day. We finished today as probably one of the shortest sessions I've ever had, 55 minutes, and it didn't feel that bad. So we dropped the rest periods down significantly. I was not resting as much, so probably 1 to 2 minute breaks, which I'm really stoked with. So that, I think, proves that I could potentially knock down a lot of these workouts to an hour and a half rather than the 2 hours if I really focused on dropping down that rest period, and I can survive that. So I think next time around, or whichever template I choose to do next, I will drop the rest periods and really keep an eye on the clock there, so that I'm not sitting around wasting a bunch of time not working out, as it were. So all in all, last day of the last week, Powerbuilding II ended up great. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video so far, please hit that like button. Also subscribe, because the next video I'll publish will be my overview of the template, so check that out. Check out my blog, WynnStrength.com, where I will write up a weekly review as well as post my written review of the template. I'll put some screenshots of the spreadsheet you get, the analysis that you get with the spreadsheet. I think it's a really cool spreadsheet to use. The geek brain side of me coming out, the analysis side of it, being able to track all your numbers and being able to analyze where you're going and regressing and whatnot. So that was a really cool part of the template. But again, I'll save that for the proper review, and check out the blog and the new article series, The Stoic Powerlifter, where I bring some stoicism into powerlifting to help get your mind right, get that motivation, and just strive for improvement. Thanks again for watching. This has been Selwyn from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.